And I think it's just this magic explosion when you're learning and you're being curious and you wonder. And if you can't do that, you are not intelligent. I say that so bravely, don't I? If you cannot wonder or be curious, you cannot do research. You cannot think of a
Right.
question.
Hi, I'm Emma Zareen, your host and a 16-year-old engineering student, policy enthusiast, and hopeful future STEM school survivor. Welcome to She Persists. Before we dive in, I just want to take a second to say how grateful I am for each of you. Every listen and every bit of support genuinely means the world to me. When I started She Persists, it started as a little dream to share real stories of young girls in STEM who are challenging norms, finding their place, and inspiring change. Seeing that idea come to life has been so rewarding, and honestly, it's just the beginning. If you've been enjoying these conversations, I'd love for you to be a part of our community by following this podcast. It's one of the best ways to help us grow, share even more incredible stories, and connect with a wider audience. And I hope the conversation doesn't end here. I hope you carry these stories with you and let them be a constant reminder that your voice truly makes a difference. Today's guest is someone who has honestly changed the way I see what's possible in STEM education. I'm sitting down with Mrs. Melissa Pore, an award-winning engineer, educator, space mission mentor, and honestly just one of the most inspiring people I've ever met. She's led student teams on real satellite launches, worked with NASA, the Naval Academy, Twig Space Labs, and so many more programs that help students not just learn about space, but actually go build in it. So with that, let's get into it. Here's Mrs. Melissa Pore. We have a very special guest here with us today. We have Mrs. Melissa Pore, who is not only a NASA Seas mentor, but she's done so many incredible things. She's an engineering teacher at Bishop O'Connell High School. And yeah, I will let her explain more of the things she does in depth during this episode. Miss Melissa is very close to me, and I've gotten to work with her very closely. So I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome to She Persists.
So excited to be here, Emma. It is a special relationship when you are able to mentor somebody for a specific project that was like ours, that was about changing lives. We related the research to the flood. So it was a really special year for Taser Team. We bonded great. I'm
Yes.
lucky to be a mentor, and I'm excited to talk about all aspects of how I know you and how we are going to work together more.
So you've worn so many hats. You're a teacher, a mentor, a researcher. You've done so many incredible things. When people ask you, what do you do? How do you usually answer that?
Ooh, that's a fun question. Well, maybe I'm trying to pull them into something fun, so I might talk about that aspect, you know? So I guess when people ask, I say I have a broad knowledge of STEM, but that I'm a little space crazy. I have loved space since I was little, and I love training and learning skills and fine-tuning, um, my personal tools and the way I use my brain to just learn efficiently. I like to tell people that I teach engineering and I do a lot of clubs, but I do bring up some of the training that I have certifications in. So I usually mention amateur radio. I'm a licensed operator, KM4, CZN. I've worked with Eris for a long time. So if it's a teacher or educator type or space industry, I mentioned my work with the International Space Station. I'm in my fifth year of the user advisory committee for the workforce committee, helping manage the future use and vision of the ISS. And that's such a special job. And my other connections that are precious are the skills and training that I've developed with other teachers with the Center for Space Research. And um, I would say I like to present about work I do, present my workshop, and I can just elevate the impact by sharing. So my kids are bigger, and I always throw that out that I'm not only a teacher, but I'm a lifelong learner. And I used to do it with my family, but now that I've been teaching a while, I like to really throw my all, my whole self in there. And Yeah, my back to school night, I try to say this, Emma. I try to say, "This is me. This is what I like." And I have these little collages that are, different words and pictures so people can get an idea. So I do work with the Air and Space Forces, the AFA. They've acknowledged me before. I always like to give back if I'm honored for something. I was the vice president of the Steel chapter here in our area in Arlington, right by the Pentagon, for aerospace education for 2 years. And I love working with the Air Force and Space Force. So that's been about 4 or 5 years. But one big thing I have to tell everyone, I am an engineering teacher because of the United States Naval Academy STEM program. They taught me, trained me, gave me confidence that I know what I know. You can speak about your knowledge and experience with confidence, but you need to know what you don't know. And that opened up this whole new world of, oh, I can do this. Expects me to know everything. You have to
Mhm.
start somewhere. Emma. So this Saturday, I was doing Arduino hardware development at the
Amazing.
academy. I told them I wanted that for a group of students, and I asked them if they would create a module and help other teachers learn. So I'd like to share that with you later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I say. I want to stay a lifelong learner and keep developing my skills.
You're such a well-rounded individual and you've done so many incredible things. You really touch on a lot of aspects there. What you were saying about the Naval Academy, that really ties into my next question here. I want to rewind a little bit. What was the first time that you realized you were interested in STEM and education simultaneously?
I was little. I was very creative and I like to do stuff outside and make things and build things. And people tend to call it, arts and crafts. And it really wasn't. It was engineering, design, all that. But I knew when I was young, when I would be with other kids, I would hold school and I would spend hours making worksheets that I thought were the way teachers should make them colorful.
Oh,
So
yeah.
looking back, it's been really fun to try to learn from myself so I can teach students and interns, you know, different ways to see yourself. And if you can look back and remember some of those, it can teach you about yourself, about your strengths and weaknesses. And I think, for me, I just build on knowledge I've always had. And if you can grow from a memory or experience of enjoying something, we can rekindle that fire and curiosity and wonder. So I knew early about space, STEM, and being a teacher. But the world told me something different, Emma, and that's why I'm so interested in in this topic. She persists because there were many times where I decided I wasn't going to be a teacher and wasn't going to be an astronaut or go to space or get to be in the Air Force. And even though I wanted so bad, every door was closed. Every person I loved and looked up to saw a different path for me. And then maybe they even said I wasn't good at something that I knew I was good at, but maybe it didn't show the same way. So, I think I went off the path a few times, and that's why I love what I do. I want to help kids like me, but especially girls, but I have a son, he's sitting in there, he's 20, and ever since he's been born and I have a brother, so I already had the special feeling about boys too, but it's a whole different thing, equally vulnerable, But I love to help other people, and I realize I'm helping myself when I do that,
Right.
and I think it's just this magic explosion when you're learning and you're being curious and you wonder. And if you can't do that, you are not intelligent. And I say that so bravely, don't I? I've been focused on this for a good 5 or 6 weeks with my school and about teaching. I want to say this to you that I like to read things like Socrates, Einstein, about space, universe, faith, religion. I think it's so interesting. Carl Sagan. I'm at a Catholic school, so I will share also Catholic astrophysicists. and it just wows me. But the best part is what they say about intelligence, wisdom, and wonder. And if you cannot wonder or be curious, you cannot do research. You cannot think of a
Right.
question, and you can't have this intrinsic um, feeling to want to see what happens next, you know? And it's been this beautiful thing that helps me show other people, like my students and other teachers, how to set that aside and walk in the classroom or go into an internship and be able to let some outside feelings, expectations go and let your body enjoy and think and learn and actually do something and see yourself advance. And so, no memorizing of facts. Now, will sound crazy to you at TJ because I know at higher level academics, there is some benefit to just flat memorization of some item to learn something deeper. However, if you're learning in it and living in it, like the periodic table, and maybe in 10 different elements, my idea is that you naturally know those 10. And you might need a trigger or something, but you shouldn't have to go spend energy on your brain piling in an exact memorization in a different part of your brain. So, yeah, so I think I'm excited to be in just the right place in my life to get to have fun and learn and explore new territory with students in engineering, which is all about the future.
I love what you said about how you kept persisting even if there were other expectations for you, because I feel like that is such an important quality to have as a human being, is to be able to really close out any obstacles that are around you and really say, "This is what I'm passionate about, and I know I can get there, and I know I can succeed, so I'm going to continue to pursue this regardless of, how many obstacles come my way or how many times I have to keep trying and picking myself back up." But I think
Mhm.
that is such a valuable quality to have, and I'm really glad that you were able to get to where you are now because you've had such an amazing and unique path. What you said about memorization is so true, and I've actually learned that pretty recently, which I wish I had learned it earlier, but deriving and understanding everything behind what you're memorizing is so much more important than just memorizing blatant facts. Because I know for myself, like, if I memorize, I will forget eventually. But
Yeah.
actually being able to figure out why something works is so valuable, and I've definitely found the value in that and will continue to. Yeah.
That's what's really cool about like an internship program. It's built on you have these tools, these instruments, these mentors, and you build your own learning path.
Right.
And the other aspect is that your environment has to be set up to allow you to not have to flat memorize, right?
Mhm.
So my classroom is set like that where we have stacks of formulas, we have calculators, we have tools, instruments, people, resources, and if you know where to get it, you are way smarter than that person that really knows everything about calculus and they have the
Yeah.
highest grade but they know so much that they don't realize what they don't know, and that's the biggest failure for some people that are smart, is that's what happens. I love that word you used, rewind, earlier. I want to rewind to something you said, because anyone that hears this, they could be 1 of 2 people. They could be you. Discovering what you really your fire, but seeing some walls, but then getting over some of them or knocking some down, but some are still there. Or a high schooler could still be on the path that they don't realize they're missing their best thing. Like
Right.
they already left it on the roadside in 3rd, 4th grade because somebody, groups of friends, parents, the world said, "This is better for you. This will be easy and fun." Or, you want to work so hard, or everyone wants, and it seems like it's loving and positive. But when I really examine it all, there's all this other great stuff around doing the cool stuff that you wanted to do. And like what you think is maybe a little bit, okay, I'll admit, hard, like super hard. But I proved it to myself a couple times, and then that helped me grab it. So in college, no one followed me around. I was on a business path. See what happens? That's the best degree, you know? They said some things about me and my learning, and I'm like, wow, they think I'm not smart. And I was at University of Texas. They think I should do this. And really, I just wasn't on my right path. And my electives were all science, physics, and I was doing great and statistics. And I couldn't believe it myself because everyone told me different. In high school, I was fixated on doing honors AP, what everyone else was doing, and I just didn't have a club or opportunity to knock on my head a little more. I did Girl Scouts, horseback riding, ice skating, dancing, so I would keep, trying things, but what the STEM club or the She Persists, it's such a different way to turn your head and go, "Wait, you know, let's take on a challenge. Let's build something." So
Yeah, and I know sometimes it's so hard to look past STEM because even like I'll say it, it is a very hard field. Like you have to work really hard in STEM, but if it's something you're passionate about, all the hard work ends up being worth it. I would say, in my personal opinion,
good
you can do
point
the
now.
you can do the hard things if it's something that you truly enjoy. It won't even seem like you're doing hard work. It'll just seem like something that you're doing really like for fun and you're just doing it to enjoy yourself.
So let's see let's explore. Why does it seem hard? And so like what I'm thinking while you just said that, my classroom is
Mhm.
full of supplies, resources, items to build models, prototypes, and just to get those items and to do engineering design, is a different project than writing, creating, analyzing data set already
Yeah.
there, right? So, how about thinking of STEM in these strands and pillars and thinking of, so like a pillar is really broad
Mhm.
and you have some broad pillars in science and math, you're building some tools. Maybe you feel weak at one of those things. Maybe all of those are awesome, but you're weak at English and writing and science, but you blow the others away. But you don't think you're weak in those, but maybe that's harder to get A pluses,
Yeah.
however you navigate it. That's what I'd always say. I'm right at this level. These things I'm not. I wish that we could not measure ourselves on that as much. Would have made earlier choices better. I also think so STEM, drilling down a skill and going to a program in the summer and doing maybe 2 clubs, not 5, right? Maybe that can be part of it because I think STEM people love diverse, like, things. Maybe they, different personalities, like, bounce around, you're excited, you wanna learn each part of this thing, and so when someone tells us to do a STEM project or solve this, they have a whole set of things that go with it that
Mhm.
you may or may not know, right? So, in that way, I can see how STEM can be abstract and kinda unapproachable, right? Maybe that explains why astronaut Dan Tani told me this fact, and others have told me too. He said, "Melissa, I have learned that at an early age, by I think he told me 2nd or 3rd grade, have already decide they say the word, 'I'm not STEM,'
Yeah.
or something like that," and
Yeah,
I
yeah, so I actually had a conversation with astronaut Dan Tani where he was saying that he doesn't like the term STEM because it feels very confined and it's just like science, technology, engineering, math. If you're not in one of those 4 categories, then you're not a STEM kid or you're not meant to pursue STEM. But I feel like STEM is a lot more abstract than that, and there's so many things that can be considered STEM, and it doesn't have to be I'm a physicist or I am an engineer or I'm a mathematician. STEM is incorporated, especially in the technological advancements that we're having in today's world. STEM is really involved in almost everything, in almost every occupation.
that's it. It overlaps and touches every single body, every
Right.
single person's job, and if you understand that part involved in the business, you get the job for human resources or the graphic designer, which, by the
Exactly.
way, is designing, but it's STEM, yeah. I think STEM education is also teaching what STEM is and exploring all those fields that have crossed over and have the
Mhm.
words like mechatronics, biotech. I was asking the midshipmen about the newer fields, and that's what happens. It becomes a course, and then it becomes a field that you can graduate in if you can develop those professors at a university. So it's been fun to see space biology and astrophysics and space botany and all
Yeah.
those words that go with radiated plants and future agriculture off this planet. It's interesting. Okay, back to this. See, I'm going.
No, I mean, that's the value of a podcast. I feel like, just being able to tune in on a real conversation and just getting to hear kind of the flow of it. So, you've had some incredible technical experiences, which we'll get into later. But what's something in your journey, either personally or as an educator, that was really meaningful to you? Maybe something that's shaped who you are, or your teaching style, or how you inspire students?
Well, sometimes the last thing I did is I feel like my greatest achievement, and then I want to keep using it for impact. The 3 summers mentoring at the Center for Space Research opened up a couple things that all of it between you all, you students, and, this last group, the different paths that are happening, but working and networking with these incredible teacher focus, student focus, wanting to improve our workforce, they have offered these pathways for me that every single one, it just seems like it gets better and better. So going to microgravity research training, writing alongside some teachers that were pushing the edge of their limits, physically reaching a dream, feeling space, for sure, that has to be it.
Yeah.
I've added since May 7th, I was able to share with you all. I'm continuing to work with the University of Louisiana on that and hopefully doing another flight. We're building more prototypes to fly, so they need to
Amazing.
be flown. That seems fun.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of funds and there's lots of time needed. The grant funds are expensive and hard. This time, I would need to find another path for it. So it builds these new challenges that open new doors. So University of Louisiana has this whole new broad challenge to develop a new prototype for a launcher, and it's taken over my classroom. I have a student that you met, Ella, that's working on a design, and all of that led to leading this national mission. So, working with satellites, going to microgravity, and just continuing to try to reach space with my
Yeah.
fingers in different ways, I feel like that gets all of you to space. Ladder to space. That's how I always think about it, is I have these different ladders and I go do it, and then I have that ladder for others, right? I like to take us all up there.
It's amazing to hear about all of your early experiences. I know that foundation also set you up for some really exciting projects. But I want to talk to you a little bit more about some of your earlier projects as a teacher. You've worked on so many projects from satellites to radio to zero G flights. From there, how did you start getting involved in some more specialized programs like satellites at St. Thomas More or mentoring with NASA?
Um, the dream, so moving from Texas to DC area, I wanted to go big, but I wanted to help those that need the most help. So I looked for a school that needed a big technology program. And when I got there, I thought making a big tech program was the big thing. Like, I'm like, wow, if I could do that, I'll be amazing. And so it was a big reach, right? So what happened was I made some achievements pretty good. And I was like, and I went to the Naval Academy, got training, and all of a sudden, my thoughts about what I could do with kids changed. And so we built these little underwater rovers called Sea Perch, and that led to going to more training, which led to myself just like wondering in myself. I'm like, what's the biggest thing I can do to make these kids never forget STEM? a whole school project, and I came up with ping pong satellite. Everyone can make a ping pong that has their name on it and will launch it from high, and I didn't know what I was talking about. And I immediately got to people that said, "You want to launch a satellite?" And I go, "I actually do." And I went for it, and the school and supported me applying for a grant. NASA believed in me. If they
Oh,
did not give me this huge CSLI grant, I wouldn't have had that same footing, but then I had to raise double. And we were the very first satellite to launch off the ISS that was a K to 8 school. We were the first satellites out of NanoRacks, which is a big company. We were their maiden mission. And it was life-changing, and I thought, "Wow, I can't stop, I have to keep pushing limits, let's see what
yeah.
happens." And, I think sometimes life has the other plans for you, so there were different times during all of this where I needed to focus on my family or myself or my father, and I would have to take some days off for a long period to assist, and I would think of, "No, is that going to continue?" Or, "What about that?" Or, like, the satellite had been launched, but it was on the ISS, but I needed to take care of some personal things for a few months. But it all went great because they were curious, they couldn't wait
Yeah.
to do it, and it was a 4-year commitment with 400 kids, and I just think what you're doing right now, getting started, finding other people that have passion, and then just marching on with a group on a mission. It just gives you this energy and ability to have just bigger impact and clever, right? And we have to be efficient. We have to keep balance. That's been really hard is that if people
Yeah.
are limiting me, I have trouble limiting myself, right? And that's part of the whole choosing specific things that line up with the overall dreams. And I think if anyone listening is like us, where they want to explore so much, but you have to rein it in to get the value, genuine
Right.
value. And I can really appreciate that with STEM projects because it's worth it to do a 45-minute design challenge, but
Absolutely.
then it's worth it to do a 4-year one. However, in college and high school, we don't have our teachers that long. So I've been really working on the 1-year turnaround on an impactful lesson. So whether it's a balloon launch or whatever. So I think just learning along with my students has just
Yeah.
been the most precious thing and telling stories and finding better ways to just want to wake up and get to school every day, want to be excited to learn.
I love what you said about how when you first suggested this idea about the satellite, you had no idea what you were doing. And you did it anyways, because I feel like, honestly, some of the best projects and some of the best initiatives come from you just taking that chance and, taking that leap of faith and saying, what's the worst that could happen? The best that could happen is that, this goes extremely well and it goes according to plan. And that's how it turned out for you. So I'm so glad that you took that chance. But yeah, congratulations on that. That's also a very historic moment to be the first K through 8 school to launch off the ISS. That's amazing.
Well, I knew so remember what I said earlier? I knew I could find somebody to help me. I could
Yeah.
go get the tool. I just kept remembering the Naval Academy procedures and confidence that they
Mhm.
teach their midshipmen, and that's really precious for you to have that moment to think about because it makes me think about that, right?
Yeah.
No reason to go get new, shiny ideas sometimes. You just need to maybe keep building the ones you've always had, develop in different ways, and okay to go learn something new and then choose that, wow, it's not my favorite thing over there, but I tried it.
Also, what you said a little bit earlier, one of the most valuable mottos that I've ever heard is that it's not always about what you know, but it's about knowing what you don't know so that you know where to go find it. Because I feel like genuinely networking is probably one of the most important life skills someone can have, especially in STEM or in the industry, in really any industry. So, what you were saying, you were able to know where you can find help and where you can find guidance. That's so important because inherently people really do want to help you succeed and they do want to help. So just taking that step and finding people who are willing to help and really taking that chance and asking for that help is so valuable. So,
Yeah, and then see in yourself that same trait.
yeah,
So when somebody on one of these podcasts is asking you, and you helped one of my students with the first robotics connection, but, helping others, it does something about, wait, that one time and it leads you on this new, like, learning thing inside. It's an interesting thing when you teach others what you know or
absolutely.
share, right? What a precious talk this has been. My mind's, like, going in all these directions while you're talking, and I'm just like, "Wanna say this, that, that." I also wanna hang on the moment, and so listen to what people say that share your passion and care to listen to you.
Yeah,
Hear what they say, and they're not always right, but, it's hard to listen to our parents and friends and family, but when they're like you or there's something starts to strike something different, like, wow, they always saw this in me, you know? Or they always nudged me. Like, my dad was always pushing the, like, building little airplanes and rockets. And so I always saw myself as doing that. No one ever said that. I couldn't do those. And I never went to tell them I was going to be a rocket launcher. But it's
yeah,
funny that if they would have said that, I mean, I tended to believe people. There's some lessons about some life traits about not everyone has your best interests at
right.
heart. Gotta have a little toughness. I wanted to say this. I was really lucky to have a wonderful, like, growing up, nothing really extreme happened for me that knocked me down. I mean, big things I felt like at the time. I mean,
Yeah.
I would be sad about when something would happen with a friend, but when Krista McAuliffe, the teacher, died in, the Challenger accident, I was 15 years old. I was sitting in my classroom, and Amy Astra, our astronaut friend, she and I have talked about this, and so have many teachers, but I knew I could do that because she was a teacher going to space. So in that 1 year, my head flipped and all other people were like, "Oh, you're never gonna go after that happened." It was just like, "And you wear glasses, and you can't be a pilot because you wear glasses." And I do fly airplanes now, and I wear glasses. I persisted and surprised myself when big things knocked me over. So maybe sometimes that's that shiny part of getting out of something rough happening is that your inner fire is reminding you, "Hey, remember a long time ago when you used to like this and other people didn't?" And like to bring back something to help you be resilient because we are supposed to be naturally resilient, loving humans on the earth, take care of each other. That resiliency is what learning gives me and gaining a new skill. I wear it on me like I have it for my whole life. No one can take that away from you.
I totally agree, and I also really like something that you said a little bit earlier, not just learn from others, but also teach others what you know. That's so valuable just because everything that we know, every piece of knowledge that humans have are from each other. We have all taught each other, and that's how we've gotten to where we are today. Even in the space industry, all these theories, all these experiments that have been conducted, they're all from other humans who we've learned from. It's so important to share that knowledge that you have and just to continue to pass down all this knowledge that you have and just continue to show your passion and share that passion with others. Like you were saying earlier, it's also really important to have a role model and also have that belief in yourself and be like, if this person could do it, I can do it too. I can get there. And even if no one's done it before, you could just as easily be the first. And it's about working hard and persisting and following
That's
those
the
goals.
thing. You can do it. Even if no one has, even if no one thinks you could. You
Yeah,
still
someone has to be the first. Yes.
So what you said about generations and passing knowledge, that's super profound with artificial intelligence coming on. I feel like I just want to say that we have a commitment to hand down this knowledge. And sometimes the knowledge is changed by others, or maybe they move knowledge around so public can't see it. We need to be transparent. And if artificial intelligence is built on language models, pulling from the internet, if you can customize them. Can you imagine if you could add some like value and context to the knowledge it starts building from that has to
Yeah.
do with generations in your culture, generations that love land, generations that take care of each other over hundreds of years, including their land, keeping it safe. That is something really interesting that is one of my new projects over the next year regarding space trash and
Mm,
space debris and
yeah.
back to University of Texas. But I think I brought up Dr. Moraba Jah to you all, and you all did that Wayfinder activity.
Yeah.
He agreed, and he's been teaching me, but he agreed to keep working on, uh, workshops to make impact with youth, and not only to teach them how to use these platforms to understand and analyze space debris and what can we do, but to think, about the artificial intelligent aspect
Mhm.
of changing all of those models. How can we deal with that in a different way? And his idea is if we're ignoring this beautiful generational context, and he means longer than just the past few hundred years, he means over time, we're really letting ourselves down, and that's where it's all going wrong. We're not using what we know. And I thought that
Exactly.
was so profound. And he's somebody who is he has TED Talks, and he's just so interesting and talk about not necessarily if he can do it, I can, but look what he's done. What could I do? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Sometimes I realize I don't have what the others have, and I see what they've done, and it isn't my goal to go find, but I'm blown away, and I latch on long enough to, like, pull away, like, my favorite things, keep track of people that are producing, new material about everything about the future. So, yeah, AI is also a part of all of the jobs now,
Yeah.
and I'm hearing more and more about businesses, law firms, countries, using it different ways, and there's lots of positive, amazing ways we can generate new relief for our society, but we need to think about how we share knowledge. This
Yeah,
is
and
mind-blowing, this talk.
I think what you just said about Dr. Marie Bajaj about how, sometimes you see what he's doing and it's not necessarily your goal to pursue the same thing. But I think there's so much value in seeing other people's accomplishments as well. Not in terms of like, they did that, but I don't have that, but just seeing that as inspiration and seeing, wow, like we're all human and this human has just done this incredible thing. So I
Turn
can
the
too.
light bulb on. I'll have a little light bulb, like,
Yeah,
brand
exactly.
on brain, just like,
Even if it's not in the same field that you're necessarily pursuing or interested in, it's amazing to see how us as humans are making all of these technological advancements and not even just technological, but just advancements in society and culture and everything in general.
and how they're woven, how they
Yeah,
have relationships, more related than not, because that bridge
exactly.
building across that seems like the better way, you know?
Yeah. Well, those early projects really have set you up for some once in a lifetime opportunities. So I want to dive right in and hear about your zero G flight. What was that first moment of waiting this list like for you?
It was an unexpected warm hug. It was
Oh,
crazy. It was really neat. I thought it was gonna feel wacky and, like, was strange sensations, but I have to be honest, I have a lot of family that's already passed on, and I hadn't really thought about them while I was trying to train and get in the airplane and all that, but I had this, like, one feeling with just everything, felt almost like I was looking outward at space, and I couldn't believe I felt what it feels like to just float. It was the best feeling. Now I know what astronauts feel like. I had that
yeah.
thought. If I don't make it to space, I just figured out what it feels like.
So when your students helped design experiments for this flight, what was the experiment?
We had several. The goal was to create a unique experiment that was on target with what your students are learning. We had several things already we're working on. One of them was the TinkerSat. We used it down at UT. And we flew that on the side of the plane on the inside, and we were testing the X, Y, and Z accelerometer. It's making me raise my hand. We were testing the components, and I had 2 of them, one in my bag, flat, and one on the wall. One of the students, Matthew, and all 200 students tried this, created the perfect 3D printed box, complete with air holes and a slidable, clickable lid, and our mascot, and a meaningful saying in Latin about intelligence. And it was just really neat to have the aspects of programming it, using it on the ground. So that was one thing we did, the TinkerSat. I had some seeds in my bag, but my big experiment was a satellite deployer, and it is part of a project that you have joined, which is to put 20 satellites in space in a year. And it is the Cape Twigs launcher. I was testing a prototype of one of the designs. We have 4 more. That was the first design. And yeah, we had a wooden crank on the ground just to see form and fit if the idea would work. Then we started working on the smoothness of materials and what we needed to change to get the effect we wanted, which was test the timing of each of them in between launching, test the movement, and see what our electronics do in zero G. Because what happens is the tiniest bit of space becomes kind of lucrative, almost like oil would here, but it just gets like loose. So there was observations about we would have to freeze the shots of the video, and we were able to see how far they each were. The main thing about this first flight for me was it gave me the idea of what I need to get real, let me just say this, the best data with the most experiments. The deployer had 3 things. Will it go on like planned? So the wireless had to work and it had to sit there. Will it spin and have a reverse rotation? We believed it would on the parabolic flight, but it barely did. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then the distance that they came out. So those were our experiments, the launcher, the TinkerSat, and the seeds. And I flew all of my students' signatures with me in my
Aw.
bag. I like to get our not only our fingerprints in space, but if we can't do that, our names and just get
Yeah.
as close as we can to occupy space.
That's amazing. The concept of students getting to help design experiments to take onto a parabolic flight is really incredible. It's such a big step, especially in the space industry where you're getting to eventually see how these experiments not only the effect in this zero G parabolic flight, but outside of that too from these results that you're getting and such. So yeah, that's amazing. How did that experience change your perspective on STEM or teaching?
I guess it showed me I could do a lot more than I thought I could. It was a big project. I was amazed at myself that I was able to do that big of a research project. I hadn't realized how difficult my project would be to carry
Yeah.
from fruition all the way to full build prototype. And I had 2 prototypes for a backup. And, yeah, it was kinda like the first thing about building that satellite. I didn't quite know what I got into. I wanted to do the project, so I was like, "I'm all in." And I had one of the complex ones, but the best part was I have a notebook with hundreds of ideas, and I still wanna do them so bad. And I would talk to everyone about it, and they're like, "No, you need to do what you already do." And I go, "I'm already doing it." But I had so much curiosity about using different regolith and dirt and trying to do soil moisture testing because I've been
Mhm.
working for years with students, and one of my students is getting a patent. That's the other thing. People you have helped or crossed over with or worked with in your intern program, when they go do other things, you feel this little piece of you doing it. So
Yeah.
I want to say, you doing this, I'm like, oh, I'm so proud of you. So it's hard to talk about myself and reflect so early in the year, but I feel like all of these things that happened this year have just changed everything about what I do, but I'm just so much more about being with my students and not being distracted and going back to do the intern program and being able to do a brand new projects. I think I have more tools and more mind muscle to offer, and maybe I have you as a resource in the future.
Yeah, that's incredible, and you have so many amazing stories to tell about it to your students as well, so that's really exciting. But your work with amateur radio and ARIS is another incredible way that you help your students experience space. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that experience is like and what that organization is about?
Um, Try to do it brief. There's so much to say, but tomorrow night is an example of how a student can benefit. We have an open house at our radio club, and if you live in the area of a NASA center, you can be part of the radio club. So that's how I started being in an amateur radio teacher type, but that satellite is what got me into it. I found out that if I got an amateur radio license, I could have my call sign on the satellite and I could do all my own paperwork. And I was starting to want to do everything myself. And I was the only female in groups of 20 or 40 working on it. And I was needing NASA engineers to help us before I would go to school. And I started feeling a little challenge about having people accept that I was going to put my call sign on the satellite, that I could even get my call sign. But there was a few people that started teaming up and like, "You can do it, you can do it." And then before I knew it, I had that support and I did it. So I kind of did it a weird way. I did it through getting a satellite launch. And so amateur radio became this passion. It's, ARIS is that name because it's amateur radio on the International Space Station. It is the oldest experiment on the ISS. It is the first ever experiment on the shuttle, and I'm so proud to have learned of it. I've been on the education committee for many, many years. Then I became part of the ops team, and the ops team means you get to do operations. So you run the antenna at the Goddard Center. Several of our centers help run the antennas for a direct contact for a school to talk to an astronaut live in space. So that is a free program. Anyone can apply for it. And I'm here to help you if you want to. And just go to eris.org. And it's around the world. We have it in every country. So I get to, every now and then, I get to go meet up with these awesome people I talk to on the airwaves far away
That's
and
amazing.
see them, including astronauts. So my students, I had my first 2 students ever last year get their radio license.
Oh, amazing. How
Mhm.
long does it take to get your license?
It as long as it takes for you to get a passing score on the radio exam. So my favorite website is Hamnet, pretty sure it's hamnet.org, and it has these practice questions. And, remember what I said about it's terrible if you have to memorize stuff?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, what if you wanna memorize it and you can do it in 4 weeks just to get your license for the rest of your life, and you never have to take the test again? I'm serious. So, once you can pass it I started doing this where I would, like, drink my coffee in the morning, and I would take the test, and I would everything I knew, I would check off in a book, and then I put Post-it notes on things that I would never know. I was like, "I'll never learn these." So, like, there was, like, a negative part of me, I admit. You'd be surprised how much you learn in physics and programming that
Yeah.
you can apply that knowledge to pass the exam. Technician level, honestly, I think it's about a 400 question bank, but some of it is logic. And you can lay in your brain to go, like, wow, every time I'm going to remember that one, you know? I really suggest just trying the Hamnet site and seeing and we need more operators. It's a hobby. You don't have to know anything. You just join a club and you get to talk on the airwaves. If you don't have a call sign, you cannot talk on it. And that's what's really cool is the privileges you have to help during emergency situations,
Mhm.
earthquakes, terrorist attack. If the police and everything around you loses bands, you can use your frequency and call sign and help everyone. It's a really, really cool thing, and you can talk to astronauts in space.
That's amazing. Yeah, I feel like it has so many implications and impacts just outside of that too, like you mentioned with natural disasters or other emergencies. So I think that's very valuable. So if anyone listening is interested, definitely check it out. But beyond all of these technical things that you've done, it's very clear that mentorship and teaching are at the heart of what you do. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about your work. You've mentored students in so many ways, from local projects to international projects and collaborations, but you're also a NASA Seas mentor. So can you tell me a little bit about that experience and what it means to work with students who are working on these NASA research projects?
So the first 2 years of Taser, we had all women,
That's
and
amazing.
it was really cool. We are the only Cs group that had that. We had 10, and it was the mission of Professor Bob Twiggs and myself to just find a different way to have impact in helping girls learn to solder, do electrical engineering, ballooning, and all the things that if you're on a group team, you might not have full access to all those spots. And like you said, STEM is kind of competitive. So many times there's just a few women. So
Hmm.
we thought it was really important that we experimented and tried that. So the Taser team this last year, we were like, hey, let's blend it and let's see what group size, like size 6. And it's been amazing getting the freedom to work in different concepts and procedures and have the trust of the C's directors to trust us mentors to bring a better program every year. And I think it's a mix, of what's happening in our world, what do our new interns care about, and
Yeah.
what knowledge do you come with? Because it's horrible to feel like you're being measured from a 0 to something, and everybody at the table has a different, momentum. You might just get going and then take off, or you might just always go at that pace. So, allowing that at Seas has been just a unique experience because in a team, you can do anything. You have all of the knowledge as a whole. So and no one knows each other before they get there.
Yeah.
So it's true engineering, design, and mission planning, and it's true immersion in what real world research and data collection will be like. And, it is like a snapshot, but like at NASA or other companies, they have projects that come in and they pull people out to do power out a project, and then you go back. And that's what those specialized strands, how you come together to build a satellite, you know? Now I
Yeah.
forgot the question.
No, yeah, you've pretty much answered it, but just about kind of your experience
Oh,
working with NASA research projects as a mentor.
well, yeah, and the Seas resources linking with the University of Texas, just state-of-the-art facilities, full support in whatever endeavor we wanna do with you all, they're like 100%. You need helium, you need to go outside, y'all need to go have a chase car, right? It was really great that the sky was the limit
Yeah.
there for you all to see mentors work together like that. And when you're out of batteries or helium, like you go borrow from a team and people
Yep.
pay back. And I mean, all of that I think is the unique part that Seas gives. You're not gonna have that on a normal NASA higher level internship. You
Mhm.
just too big, too spread out, and they're not built that way. You're lucky, and so am I, that we got this Seas experience.
Yeah, and I really have to add something to what you said about how none of us knew each other going in. I think that was such an amazing experience, not just getting to work with other people, but outside of also just our teams, getting to meet these incredible people from across the country who've done some crazy things and they've done some amazing things and they're just continuing to really thrive and follow this passion of theirs. And it's so valuable to surround yourself with so many like-minded individuals who you can really all just grow together. For me personally, I've met people who I'm still in contact with and will be for a really long time because, the connections you build there for 2 weeks, you're just very, very honed in on doing this project and getting it done, scrambling, and you really bond over that, so I think it's such an amazing experience. Also, the value of really it was very student-led with, of course, amazing mentors, and we really got to pick a project on our own and really figure out what we cared about, like you were mentioning, so I thought that was incredible because we really got to put together this project and see it come to life, so that's very valuable and something I'll be very grateful to C's for.
And that sheer emotion of triumph
Yes.
that I saw groups get, I felt it, and then when we all left each other, that deep feeling of the power of what we've done.
Yeah.
There was a few students, and it makes me feel like my eyes feel misty,
Aw.
that they were drawn to tears over the experience or something they'd learned or somebody gave them something, and it was just I think it locked in, "Wow, I'm glad I sacrificed and worked as hard as I could," and every one of you had to work so hard to we still have the research presentation, the
Yeah.
posters. Yeah, but to do your symposium, which was so amazing. Like, y'all had these time constraints, and people from all over the world were watching your presentations.
I think also another really big thing about not just C's, but programs like this is that the internship really doesn't just stop when that program is over or that in person portion or just that active experimenting portion. I think C's has also provided so many opportunities outside of just those 2 weeks at UT Austin and also networking, like we were talking about earlier. Like, I've met so many people who are not even part of the cohort that I was at C's for, but alumni who you've connected me with, Mrs. Tomlin have connected me with. It really is just this huge web of alumni who are really here to help each other and guide each other. So I think that's such an incredible experience. So, for listeners who might want to mentor or students who might want to get involved in programs like C's themselves, what advice would you give to them?
Tell somebody you wanna do it so that you are committed and you don't forget, and tell somebody that believes in you and will help you carry it over the finish line. So, a counselor or a teacher, what would I tell somebody or how they could take advantage of the C's program? Going to see what's required on the website early is the best way to do any of these because you can have these big dreams, have it all printed, but then you miss deadline or you haven't asked someone to write the recommendation letter. And really, it takes more than you realize. Like it might just look like three things, but people get sick or they're out of town. So, my advice is look early. So, I think you deserve it too if you seek it. So, ask your
Absolutely.
science and math teachers, right? Because there's also from Virginia, we have the Space Grant Consortium
Yep.
who lists out those special summer programs that compete with these. And I've had many kids ask me, hey, if I have to choose, what should I do? And I say, "Don't ask me. This is your time. This one takes a video. You've asked 2 people to write essays." I don't believe in limiting yourself.
Mm.
So if you have the time, do both. Then if you get both and have to choose, that's something else, right? And nowadays, college, it's getting harder and harder. So, yeah, put your feelers out there, follow people like you, follow people like Emma, and when you guys get to college, you've gotta look into those student space groups, like SED.
Yeah. Yeah.
SEDS is really cool, and I told one of my old students about it, and he became the president of it the past 2 years. So and he said it's been really a different thing for the Georgetown University space students. That's their annual trip. They all go to, a conference as a SEDS team. So let's keep thinking of things to tell people. I have to
Yeah.
share them through you somehow.
I really like that advice. What you said really touches on take initiative, seek out those opportunities, and give them your all. Put forth your best effort and see where that takes you. Well, looking back, what's been your proudest moment as a mentor and teacher?
Mhm.
I know, very
Hard.
big question.
Thinking of COVID, I didn't wanna ever give up or let any kids down or families and just staying through during hard times of teaching, you know? has been some of my proud moments because, the kids needed it, I needed it, and going to school after hard things have happened in our world, I guess that is what made me proud, is the days that are harder to get there, that I did it anyway, and I tried to teach myself what I taught the kids, and boy, that's the hardest thing is teaching yourself your own lesson.
Yeah.
But then what happened is these beautiful, magical learning moments, and there's really not magic in learning, I just like to say that because I feel like time passes in these weird intervals
Mhm.
when you're curious and wonder and have fun, you know? Yeah, I would think some of my hardest times became the like silver lining and beautiful moments that kept me upright and making it through and doing bigger things.
What I was saying is that I think it's so amazing to be able to look back at yourself and see all these hard things that you have overcome, especially because that's such a big motivation for just continuing as well. I know for me personally, sometimes things can be really hard. Like I might have a really hard test, or I might have taken a test and I didn't feel the best about it. And then just looking past it, a couple days later or a week later, and just seeing like, I was able to overcome that, so what can I overcome next? Really
Feels like the
valuable.
end of the world sometimes in high
Yeah.
school. Really. I mean, I
Yeah.
was so sensitive but looking back, I mean, I didn't have horrible things happen, but man, it's hard to be a student and to fail and yeah, and to not it's hard to see others strive when you're trying.
Yeah, and
You're
I
like,
think
"Why didn't I? I don't understand." So, persevere.
really sometimes, no matter what point of your life you're in, it's harder to see the bigger picture sometimes. It's really easy to start nitpicking on these smaller things that, like you said, seem like the end of the world at the time, but you'll be really proud of yourself for overcoming them later on, so
Yeah, and the habit to follow what others are doing. It's so important to always think of that. Always think of that.
yeah.
Just
So, if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice when you were just starting out in STEM and teaching, what would you say to her?
my favorite thing to ask other people. I don't think anyone's asked me that before. What would I say? Advice. I think I did what I could with what I saw, right? I wished I'd been a little tougher. And I wished I had maybe sought out some things, but looking back, I'm at peace too with what the path gave me. And so, all right, when I ask other people, here's what I want them to say. What about high school would you do different? Uh, And for me, so for that piece, I think I would have focused on an academic club. I did not, and they weren't as popular back then, and I was really busy doing my activities, but I love that academic piece, and I just didn't realize about, like, robotics. That
Mhm.
seemed way over my head, but I just never got to do it, but I love programming. I wish I had been more adventurous, and I think my broad interests weren't in deep thread system, and maybe I could have, found this, so yeah, I think that's the answer because I am just like every day trying to provide as many clubs and opportunities for my kids so that they have what I didn't. I always think about that. So, yeah,
Yeah.
what I'd done different, focused on less fun and dancing.
I think that's so valuable, and I'm so glad you're now able to create these experiences and these opportunities for your students and really show them what's out there at such a young age, and just grow that passion and that curiosity and that drive at a very early age so that they can continue it. You've done incredible things already, but what's next for you? Do you have any projects or experiences that you're most excited about personally?
So glad you asked. I'm excited to be part of the world's biggest analog mission in October.
Oh,
Am not the astronaut, but there are 8 astronauts going on this mission to Poland, which is called
wow.
Polaris, and it will be a simulated prototyped area and environment of the moon. So for 2 weeks, we will do the same experiments our astronaut does. I was able to be chosen as one of the lead teachers with 32 others.
Amazing.
and I wrote 2 experiments that we're going to do and other people are gonna do. So I am so excited about that and doing all that space trash stuff that I've just started. I also have a new project with the Neutral Buoyancy Lab. I've spent
Wow.
3 or 4 years working with their divers. I didn't get to talk about it that much this year at Taser. We are excited. We're working, with some college kids from Mexico City. They wanted to
Wow.
come to Houston and be part of this, so they're going to join my team, and the Naval Academy is helping me with my neutral buoyancy lessons because I'm not the expert, they are, and that's the whole thing. I'm gonna show about 4 or 5 engineering challenges and the different, theories they teach and the way the NBL uses it for astronaut training.
I also want to say congratulations that, to no surprise, you were recognized as the 2023 Virginia AFA Teacher of the Year and
Oh,
also the 2020 Carol Perry Teacher of the Year as well. So definitely no surprise that you were selected for the
thought
radio
up.
mission.
Thank you. I was
Yeah.
sh myself, and I think that kind of stuff is what makes me wanna keep giving as much as I can, so
Yeah, but congratulations for that. One last question. If you could leave young listeners with one message about pursuing their passions, what would it be?
don't quit wondering, go be curious, go outside and bring me back a question. That's what I want young listeners to do. I want them to explore and have their ears open about all new ideas. Don't stay on your phone or doing the same old thing.
Yeah.
I do have my favorite things. When I put the favorite things down is right when I learn something new about like a new telescope image and all the black holes they can see, things that twist what I know, that is so fun. So, yeah, go learn and wonder.
I love that. I think that's such a positive and amazing note to end on. Just chase what you don't know and keep learning. And that's really the biggest value we can have in ourselves as humans is to just keep growing our knowledge and keep just reaching beyond what we already know. Mrs. Melissa, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today. From the satellites, microgravity flights, and mentoring students, you've done so many amazing things, and your story is truly inspiring. And for our listeners, whether you're a student looking to pursue STEM or someone looking to make an impact through mentorship, Mrs. Melissa's journey really shows that curiosity, passion, and saying yes to opportunities can lead to amazing experiences. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a
So well
fantastic conversation.
oh, so precious. Thank you for concluding it with those words. What a beautiful time we just had, right?
Thank you for being here. It truly meant a lot. And I've already known so much about you, but I got to learn so much more that I didn't already know. And I thought that was really amazing. So thank you so much.
Believe in you. Go keep making me proud, and I'll just cling on to your shirt tails.
Once again, I'm your host, Emma Zareen, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the She Persists podcast.